Curphy House in Manchester is home to several of our ex-servicemen. They are some of our local heroes who have fought to protect our freedom. Recently, we paid them a visit.
Imagine a life where everything is orderly. You can play a game of basketball with friends, hang out on the corner, or simply enjoy life. Several Jamaican men and women, this idyllic life was disrupted by the reality of war. Up until 1962, Jamaica was a colony of Britain, and so it was not unusual for these men and women to answer the call from the motherland to help protect Britain against tyranny and oppression. They volunteered and were sent to different parts of the world to fulfill what was for many a patriotic goal. Among those who answered the call were Reverend Levi Watson and Richard Watson Medias.
At 19 age, full of youthful exuberance, looking for adventure, want to travel, not afraid of anything, and I said, well, I am going to volunteer to go and serve.
It all started when I was at school. I went to Kingston Technical. It started there when the war was on. A lot of people were volunteering to go overseas to help in the war effort. And there was one morning when I came to my class, and the class that had in about 20 people. There were only 6 of us. Everybody had gone and signed off to go to the war. So I went and I signed on, and this was in 1944, early 1944. And by May, I was in England.
These men are among the lucky ones who survived World Wars I and II. Though most of World War I veterans have passed on, those who remain have now aged and are somewhat weakened by the passage of time. It is sometimes easy to forget that they are heroes who fought against Hitler and the tyranny he represented to ensure that Jamaica's name was listed among those countries that fought to protect the freedom and democracy that many of us around the world enjoy today.
We landed at Liverpool and we were taken to one of the Butlins holiday camp that was transformed into a station, RF station, called Filey at Hunmanby Moor in Yorkshire. And we spent about 2 months there doing square bashing. And then we were shifted to different groups what we were going to do in the RAF. I was selected to go and do radar, airborne radar.
But life was not always fun for these ex-soldiers. They remember times when they were so terrified, they wished they were home, tucked safely away, while at other times they were more precious men. These ex-soldiers have a lot of stories to tell, and on a visit to Curphy home recently, a World War II veteran, Richard Watson Medias, told us why he was exceptionally proud to have fought in the war.
When we arrived in England, people of our color, black and people of color, were not many. There were very few. And those who were there were students, studying, you know. And the people in England had they weren't so up to date with us, you know. They thought that, you know, Africa and backward and all that. But what I'm happy about, that we were pioneers and we never knew it, because we opened the gates. That years after, you had this big rush to England. It was because of our performance, because how we conducted ourselves. We made them know that we are not as backward as they thought. So the gates, the big migration, you know, it wasn't so difficult because we had paved the way. And I am proud to know that I am a part of that.
Today, some of these ex-soldiers called Curphy House in Mandeville home. Situated on 54 acres of land, the home is the only one of its kind in the Western Hemisphere and was first leased to the American government during World War II as a rest home for their officers who were then stationed at Vernon Field Air Base and on the naval base at Goat Island in Clarendon. The Americans ceased to use it after they withdrew from these bases at the end of the war. On May 22, 1958, a lease agreement was signed with the Jamaican Legion and the Ministry of Agriculture to use the property to establish a home for indigent ex-servicemen. By January 1957, the first batch of ex-servicemen moved into Curphy Home, which was named in honor of the late Colonel, the Honorable Sir Aldington Curphy, one of the founders of the Jamaican Legion. These men are proud and want to spend their winter days in dignity. They have been forgotten by many, but not the Jamaican Legion, which through the annual Poppy Appeal helps to raise funds to sustain them in their time of need.
Jamaica Legion was established about 1948 to look after the Jamaican ex-soldiers. Sure that they have a certain amount of expenses that they be looked after. We top up what they get from the national insurance from the government, and we get the money mainly from the Poppy Appeal.
While these men get a monthly pension from the government, it is not enough to maintain them, so the Legion uses the funds from the Poppy Appeal to provide assistance to these ex-servicemen, those at Curphy Home, and others who reside in other parts of the island. But how did the idea of the Poppy Appeal originate?
The Poppy Appeal started in, as I said, in 1924, around that time in England. Earl Haig, they needed funds to look after the ex-servicemen in Britain, and the poppies, the symbol, came because in Flanders Field in Belgium, where a lot of men died in the 1914-18 war, they found the poppies grew wild on the graves. The poppies are little red flowers, grew wild on the graves. So a big industry was set up in England and in Canada, with ex-servicemen, mainly disabled ex-servicemen and women, making the artificial poppies that we have now, and they send them all over the world.
The red poppy flower is worn in remembrance of those soldiers who lost their lives in the First World Future. At present, there are approximately 18 ex-servicemen living at Curphy Home. On a daily basis, they engage each other in a game of...
It is really a home away from home. The men are well treated here. The superintendent does his job, the matron does his job, and the staff treat them as a family. It's like one big happy family around here.
But how important is it to support the Poppy Appeal and by extension these soldiers?
Many people are not aware of how important the World Wars I and II were to Jamaica. So they tend to say, oh, Poppy Appeal, without even thinking about what it means. You see, and I must mention this. The World War I veterans, of which my father was one. He fought in the First World War. I fought in the Second. World War I veterans came back, and they were instrumental, all the leading up to 1938, all the labor troubles and labor things and so on, with the Coombs and St. William Grant and Bustamante and Manley and so on. The ex-servicemen were very much to the fore there. See, and after the Second World War, the ex-servicemen came back and were very much part of the building of Jamaica.
Each year, the target for the Poppy Appeal increases.